Hey guys, Professor Mans here for a quick tutorial on one of the requests from a student for the create a game ready fire extinguisher through 3D Studio Max. Now this we have to give credit to Sony Kumari on this, but it is a bit outdated, so I'm going to update a few of the quick keys and give you a couple of screenshots that are a little more updated to the 3D Studio Max 2017. So let's get going. I've already downloaded the files for the project files for the reference, and let's go over to Photoshop. I'm going to open that up, and right here in the tutorial, the first thing we're going to do is check our image size so that we can match that that scale in 3D Studio Max. So first, the hotkey that is explained in the tutorial is not Control-I but Alt-Control-I. So when we do that, you get the image size properties here, and in this case it would have shown up in inches, and we're going to change it to centimeters based on the tutorial. So in this case, your height is actually going to be your length in 3D Studio Max. What you're going to do is you're going to take these parameters here, the sizes here, and translate those to 3D Studio Max. Quick screen. Let's go over to 3D Studio Max, and now we're going to add a plane. And I'm going to do this in the front view, so you got your top, front, left, and perspective. In this case, we're going to put our plane in the front. Sorry, so used to clicking and dragging here. We're going to drag out, click and drag the plane, and in this case, we really don't need any segments. The tutorial doesn't tell you to change anything, but I'm going to do so. I'm going to change my segments to 1 and 1. As you can see, now there's just one solid plane here. Now, as I stated with the scale, we're going to do our length as 43.18, and our width is going to be 20.32. Now, our units, centimeters, say okay. So width, and then 43.18. W for our quick key for select and move. Now, right now the pivot point is in the center of this plane. We want to move it down to the bottom so that when we zero out our coordinates, the bottom of this plane will be at 0 on our X and Y axis here. So let's go over to our third tab and go to pivot only, effect pivot only rather. I'm going to zoom into the front here, and then we're going to go ahead and drag this down to the bottom. I'm going to zoom in as close as I can to ensure that I am getting this on the line. Zoom in some more. Try to zoom in as far as you can, and this is as far as I can go. I'm going to get that right there. Uncheck effect pivot only, and then we're going to zoom extents so everything is there. So now we're going to zero out. I'm right clicking on select and move. I'm going to 0, 0, right? So we're going to close this and let's save. Now in this case, I already have a fire extinguisher saved. I'm just going to save over this one. Say yes. And now let's go over to our second tab, and I'm sorry, the first tab, because now we're going to go down here, and okay, so our next thing is we're going to apply our material or our diffuse to this plane. Now once And let me make sure my setting is off so that I could show you what to do. Okay, so good. All right, so we're going to go over to our material editor, and we're going to choose our diffuse property, which is a property of a shader, and we're going to select that. By the way, you can use a texture in a diffuse, and in this case bitmap represents those textures, and I'm going to go grab that from my tutorial folder, and let's get that, and we're going to grab our JPEG here, and we're going to show shaded material in viewport, and we're going to assign material to selection. Now you see the item. Now the next step is to freeze the selected plane so that it is not manipulated. But by the way, let's go back up to the parent over here in our material editor, and then I'm going to close that. The point of using this plane is to keep it frozen so that it is not manipulated while you are creating your object based on the reference photo. So I'm going to show you what happens when I right click and freeze the selection. When you freeze the selection, you're getting a grayed out face here. So what we need to do is we're going to unfreeze this. We're going to right click, we're going to go to our object properties, and actually we have to do it again here. Object properties, and right here where it says show frozen in gray, we're going to uncheck that. I'm going to say OK, and now when we right click and freeze our selection, it is now frozen. We can't manipulate it at all. See, and so now we can go ahead and create our object. Let's zoom extents all so that everything is balanced in the world here in our views. Now your perspective view is where you'll usually move around and take a look at your object and such, but in this case, when you first begin to use or create your object based on this reference, we're going to be using this top view and this front view. First, we're going to start out and create the cylinder in our top view. I'm using the middle mouse button to select my windows here, by the way, and then we're going to manipulate the object in the front view. So let's change this wireframe and change it to default shading so that we can see the photo, and we're also going to show edge faces. We're also going to do it here in our perspective view, show edge faces, and so now let's go ahead and begin the process of creating our object. Now, next thing we'll do is we're going to select our standard primitive cylinder. We're going to start from the top view, a middle mouse button, and then I'm going to click and drag our cylinder, and then as you can see, now I'm moving up, moving my mouse forward to create the cylinder. Now, your mouse may act a little funny in terms of where you stood or started clicking and dragging your object. In this case, I did not have far to move my mouse in order to get to expand my object up to the top of this fire extinguisher. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over to W, I'm going to hit delete, and I'm going to start again. It's not unheard of to restart an object, especially when you're in the beginning of your stage of creation. So let's go back over to cylinder. Now I'm going to try or attempt to start as far back as I can with my mouse, and then I am going to and it's still not letting me go as far as I'd like. This could be the centimeter situation. The movement of my mouse is not giving me much to go on. So let's one more time. I'm going to go I'm going to try this from I'm selecting, going to W, and so I'm going to try this from my perspective view. So let's do that. See if I can get this to go the length of the photo reference. So I'm going to select, and yep, much better. And then I'm going to freeze that. Stop. So I've clicked, dragged, and deselected or released my button on my mouse to end the creation. Now, as you can see, I'm not quite at the width that I want. Now, you can alter this to do so. Now, you could actually adjust the radius a bit. So I could go to W, but once I go to W, as you can see, I'm centering it, but now I've lost my parameters. Well, I can go over to my second tab, and as you can see, I still have my parameters here. I can go to my radius, and I can increase my radius until, and I'm eyeballing this, by the way, and I'll just move this over a bit. Now, I'm going to do an Alt X to make it transparent, as you'll see in the tutorial as well. And actually, I'm going to maximize this view, my front view, bottom right icon here. And as you can see, I'm just on the edge of it. I'm going to increase it just a little more. And I think that's fine. Now that we've got that settled, we're still here in our second tab, which is where we need to be. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some edges to this. And actually, what we're going to do first is, this should have been just one height segment, right? So that there aren't any segments here, because we could have added our segments and manipulated things. But to get you to understand some of the parameters or some of the options in creating things with your object, the tutorial points you in the direction of connecting edges. So let's go ahead first and go to our modifier list, and we're going to change this, convert this to edit poly. And so now we have an editable poly, and now editable polygon. And now we're going to select edges. Now once you select edges, you'll have selections that are relevant to edges, in this case connect. So what we're going to do first is we're going to select one of the vertical segments, and then we are going to do a loop. A ring, and it's going to select every vertical line that's around the object. Now we're going to go down to connect, but settings. So we're going to select settings under connect edges. Now what we're going to do is, in our connect edges segments, we're going to make that 2. And as you can see, it creates 2 new edges. And we're going to pinch it 73, which is bringing it up to a height, or separating those 2 lines by 73. And then we're going to give it 2 sides. So we probably could just add here. Let's do that. Let's do that and ring around, and then we'll go do connect and say 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, are my numbers going to be off? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so 8. So we're doing it 4 here, so that we add 3 more, right? So that's a total of 8. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move. And what we can do here is actually, we'll probably do it with, let's do it with vertices here. So what we can do is two of these are going to, so we're dragging a window around the top two. Well, actually, we don't need to do, we can eyeball this differently. So what we can do is we'll take this line and we'll move it down, and then we'll select both. I'm dragging a window around the entire length of the ring, and now we're going to take this one. This one's already at the line here. We'll lift it just a little bit, and then let's see. So we got 1, 2. We need, oh, you know what? I need this one down here, like so, and then this one is going to be part of the lip at the bottom. So right here, right? And so this one will go here, and then this one will go here, and this one will go here. Now, just to be sure of where we are, let's take a closer look. Let's see. So yeah, not too bad. It looks a little larger than we did in the photo, so we'll put it about right there. See, I got a line here and a line there. Let's move down. We've got an indentation that starts about right here. This one could probably stand to be a little thinner, maybe. And then we've got, of course, the smaller rim down at the bottom. And actually, if we take both and move them up, there we go. Now that we've got those even there, now we can go ahead and select polygon, which is our fourth selection, or number 4. So we can say 3, for example, for border, and if I hit 4, there's your quick key to go to polygon. Now we can go ahead and select right there in the middle. We've got our polygon selected for this top edge, and we're going to bevel this, right? So just to double check to make sure we have everything selected, let's zoom out, zoom extents, and we can take a look around this particular piece here, and this piece is going to be beveled out, right? And so in this case, and I'm going to zoom back in. I'm going to go back to my front view, zoom in, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a bevel. But we're going to go to bevel settings, and what we're going to do, and in this case, our height, we're going to give a height in this case of 0.508. Let's check that according to Sony, and let's do that. And as we can see, we've got a height there, but we're doing it with local, on the local normal. So the local normal set here, as you can see, it does a local normal where it balances itself evenly, and then we're going to do a minus 305 here. So minus, and then 305, and as you can see, that's not too bad, but it could be a little better. Let's see. It could be a little wider. Probably needs to be a little wider, but that's probably based on the fact that we didn't have a wider base here. So let me cancel this real quick. I'm going to cancel, and I am going to move this line. Let's go to vertices, and I'm going to move this line up a bit, and I'm going to move this one down a bit. I'm just eyeballing this basically on how it looks in the tutorial. And let's select that. Let's go back to bevel, and not too bad, not too bad. So we'll do a check on that. Of course, it holds the last thing adjusted. At the bottom, we're going to do a bevel inward. So first, let's be sure to select and give a decent width on this as well. Oops. I'm only going to number 9, by the way, in the tutorial, and then I'll continue on with separate videos. So anyway, we have that selected. Go to polygon. We're going to select just the center, right? The center polygon's there. And now we're going to do a bevel. And at this time, we're going to do a minus 635. Let's see how 635 looks based on these settings. 635, and then we're going to do 305. It's a little thin. We could go up a little bit, I think. Yeah, we could go up something like that. And actually, and you know what? Let's do 5. No, let's try 3. And no, we'll do 1. That doesn't look too bad. So we're eyeballing. Nothing wrong with eyeballing. I think that looks a little more realistic, right? So we've got that done. We're going to do a check. You could have stuck with the numbers, or you can always eyeball like I did to sort of say, well, this makes a little more sense of how it looks in terms of the shape, right? So now our next move is to we need to actually do the bottom piece, and you know what, that might have been my, I think we want to do the bottom as well, 508 and 305. So let's do that real quick. We'll select those. We're going to do a bevel, and we're going to make this one 508, 508, and that is, but that's going to be a positive, right? And then 305 here, but let's take a look, see how it looks. Ooh, that's very thin. So we will do something like 105. So maybe 2, right? Okay, looks better. And then what we'll do with the 5 is do maybe 3. Looks like it really needs to come down, so we'll do 1. And how about that? I think that's pretty decent. Yep, based on the look. And so we'll go ahead and say okay to that. Let's save our work. I'm going to save it as an iteration, so I'm going to say save as, and then here the plus button, we're going to say plus, and it's going to add it and save it as Fire Extinguisher 01, and then my next iteration will be 02, and so on. Once you get to your final, then you can call it Fire Extinguisher final, or go back and just save it as Fire Extinguisher. So let's move on to the next step. So far, and let's take a look at what we have so far, and I'm going to deselect polygon, do Alt X, and so far, oh, I did move around in the front view. Let's get out of the front view and go to perspective, take a look, see, so far we've got our shape there, right? So now the next thing is we're going to insert 3 more edges right between the notch here and this line, right? So let's go ahead and do an Alt X. We're going to go back to our front view, maximize, and then what we'll do is we're going to go to edge, select one vertical edge, we're going to do a ring, and then we're going to do a connect, and in this case only 3, right? So now we've got 3 there. We're going to say yes or check mark, and now we'll just scale. We're going to scale each level until it makes sense of our rounded edge here, right? So let's go ahead to our vertex mode, and then what we're going to do is, in this case, we're going to adjust this line here, right? And then what we're going to do is go to R for our scale, and then what we'll do is scale in, right? And then grab. Now, mind you, I'm going to show you what axis I'm grabbing. I'm grabbing X and Y, which should have done everything. And we can double check that. We can double check that by getting out of Zoom Extents. We'll look around, and as you can see, and actually, let's see, yep, it did the whole thing, right? All the way around. Oh, not quite, maybe. Actually, no, it only did it on X and Y. So what we need to do is we need to go back. We'll undo and try not to do undos too much here, but in this case it was only two small things. So what we're going to do is, first I'm going to select this first layer here, or this first line, right? Now I'm going to come over to my perspective view, and I'm going to do the entire thing by selecting the line there. As you can see, I'm selecting the two lines here, right? Gonna do the same thing here on this second one. Go back over here to my perspective and do that until I've got actually, let's go back to this line here, and we need to actually draw that out a bit. Oops. There we go. And then we have one more line here, and we'll go back. I'm using the middle mouse button to go back between each view here, and then we'll go ahead. And now we have a rounded section there, and now what we'll do is I'm going to select this top edge. I'm going to bring it in. Oops, I missed one. So let's go select the whole thing again here. Come over. There we go. I just eyeballed it. I looked at my top view over here on the left. And now we'll go ahead and select our W. We're going to move this down to right here, right, according to our views so far. Now the last step, which is let's see, we're looking at step 8 and 9, which are adding two more lines to round out our edges here. So right here, or right here, I should say, on the front, let's maximize. We're going to go to edge mode. We're going to select this vertical line right here in between these two horizontals, and we're going to do a connect, and we're going, oh, sorry, I did not ring it yet. I ring and then I go to connect, and we're going to do 2 right here in the center, right? And we're going to bring those out, right? So we're going to check mark that, and then we're going to bring those out. Now let's go ahead, and I'm going to go out to my perspective view. I'm going to go to R, and then I'm going to drag that, oop, just a little bit, hold on, just how about that? Not too bad. Not too bad. Now it's got a rounded edge there, right? That took a little bit of slow manipulation there, but we got it. Now let's go down to the last step, which is down here on this edge here, or this section here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go select the vertical line. We're going to do a ring. Now we're going to do a connect and add 2 there as well. Select that, and we're going to go inward, right? So let's, I'm going to alt middle mouse button a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Select just those 2 lines there, X and Y, and just go in just a tad right there. I think that that is fine, right? And so with that, that is our selection right there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to save as real quick before I show you the entire thing. Let's do a plus, and now go to W, deselect edge, of course, Alt X, and now we have, and zoom extents, now we have our solid piece here, all right, with the edges shaped so far. All right, that's step 1 through 9. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I know that took a little longer, but this is for those of you who needed a little more a slower pace to get this done. All right, we'll come back to the next step, and thanks for watching.